get the meeting started. We have labor update as the item on the agenda to start with. Alex Gerzer or Jennifer Shembri.
Good morning, Jennifer Shembri, Deputy Director of Employee Relations. We wanted to let the council know that we reached a tentative agreement with the Association of Engineers and Architects, and that agreement is on your council agenda for October 8th. And that concludes our presentation.
Okay, I have no request to speak on this item. We'll adjourn into closed session. We'll be back at 1:30.
Good afternoon. This is the San Jose City Council meeting for October 1st, 2013, and we will begin the meeting with the invocation. Councilmember Don Rocha will introduce the invocator.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. In honor of the upcoming Red Ribbon Week, the national campaign to mobilize communities to educate youth and encourage participation in drug prevention activities, I've invited Gabrielle Antolovich, the Executive Director of Voices United, to present our invocation at today's council meeting. Voices United is Silicon Valley's resource hub on substance abuse and addiction information, providing a cyber resource center via their website, voicesunited.net. Voices United's main emphasis is to educate the community about the vulnerability of the teenage brain to all substances. This includes everything from nicotine, marijuana, alcohol, and more. The brain continues to develop until the age of 25, which in turn creates a greater susceptibility to addiction for our youth. Therefore, I am honored to present Gabrielle as our invocation speaker today to bring awareness to this issue and to remind our community that drug-free is the way to be. Thank you.
Wow, that was a great introduction. My name's Gabrielle Antolovich, but I am also representing Christian Lara, who is a senior at Lincoln High School, and he was attracted to coming to the Friday Night Live club on campus, which deals with alcohol and drug issues. And he was drawn to joining that club because they were working on Red Ribbon Week last year. And we are now coming up to Red Ribbon Week, which is honoring the drug-free school environment. I think that's maybe the nicest way to say it. He and his friends really want to have a safe school environment because they want to grow and they want to be able to become who they want to become. He's really into science and math and doesn't quite know what to do with that. Either that or he wants to join the military. I don't know how those are connected, but in his mind they are. And so safety is a big deal to him. And I don't know if you know, lots of people have heard of Red Ribbon Week. You know, you wear a ribbon, stay drug-free, yeah, and then you go on with the holidays and get drunk and eat too much food. And that's how a lot of people deal with that. But in actual fact, Red Ribbon Week was started because a DEA officer, drug enforcement officer, was actually in Mexico and was tortured and killed by the drug cartel while on duty. And this really touched a high school friend of his, Henry Lozano. And Henry Lozano was working in the White House with the drug czar. And so he started Red Ribbon Week in honor of his high school friend, Kiki Camarena, who died for this cause. He was trying to stop the drug cartel, bringing drugs into this country and addicting our young people. And so Red Ribbon Week started, and like so many campaigns, we lose sight of where it came from. And Christian Lara, who was going to speak here today, because he has an attraction to law enforcement, the military, Red Ribbon Week means a lot to him. And it also means a lot to him to get to being there, which means he has to study, and he has to have a school environment that is safe and that is drug-free. And even though all schools have a no tolerance for drug use, that actually is not the truth today. Because there are so many marijuana dispensaries, not just near the schools, but they are also advertising blatantly that they are here, and they are not only doing green crosses to indicate their whereabouts, but now they're making very beautifully designed green crosses that make you think that it's like one of those healing centers. And so when children see these things over and over again, it makes them think that it's okay and that it's all right. And so what Christian and his Friday Night Live club members did is they actually organized a survey at their school. And I have to say, Lincoln High School is one of those that does allow student initiatives. You know, I was kind of hesitant going, oh my God, I don't know how your school is going to allow that, but you know what? They did, and they managed to get 186 students filling out this survey. And one of the shocking well, there were two shocking things. Almost everyone smells marijuana on their high school campus. That is not, that, you know, that's bad. And 95% said it was easy or really easy to get marijuana. And if you talk to any of the associate principals of discipline, they are saying this last year they keep catching students with the bags of marijuana straight from the dispensaries. Whether they get it directly or indirectly, it's still in the dispensary bag. And also the associate principals of discipline, not just at Lincoln High School, but every high school in every district is saying it used to be alcohol why kids were being suspended. Now it is marijuana. And it's very difficult to do anything about it as sometimes because of the changing attitudes. And I think we have learned from alcohol and tobacco. You know, the alcohol industry, the tobacco industry have promoted their products in such a way that young people think that it's a no big deal, and I can't wait to do it because it looks attractive, it looks sexy, it looks amazing. And whatever adults do with their attitudes, you know, children follow. And that when you don't have parameters and you don't have, you know, zoning restrictions, I mean, we don't like to have liquor stores near our schools, and we don't allow billboards advertising alcohol near our schools. So why are we allowing marijuana being sold near our schools in such a way that young people think, oh yeah, alcohol is really bad, you know, but marijuana is just fine. And we have ourselves to thank for that. So Christian Lara, his real message is, I'm a high school student. I want to graduate from high school, not graduate from marijuana to something else. And he is so sick of smelling it around his campus, and he wants adults to do something about it. And what he and his friends have done is they have put out a petition. And if you ever come across this petition, we would love you to support it. And I will close with reading what the petition says, that the Lincoln High School Friday Night Live Club would like support, not just from Lincoln High School, but from everyone. And that means you guys too. They want to make sure marijuana dispensaries are at least 1 mile from any school, city community center, libraries, and wherever youth traditionally hang out. And let's make their lives safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabrielle. We are delighted to have the third graders from Lynn Haven Elementary School in District 1 to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag Thank you very much. We will now move down to orders of the day. Are there any changes? Okay. We have a motion to approve orders of the day. All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Closed session report.
We have no closed session report.
Thank you. We will now move to the ceremonial items. I'd like to invite Councilmember Kansen to join me at the podium. Today we are recognizing the month of October as Disability Awareness Month in the city of San Jose, and Councilmember Constant has a few words.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We have a group of people joining me here today. These are all of the folks that have worked so hard to bring us our Disability Awareness Day the last 5 years and again this year. We have Liz, Rashida, Nick, Dominique, Debbie, Shauna, Francisco, Lisa, and who did I miss? Scott. Scott. I should have known. He's the one I asked if he was coming. So this all started about 6 years ago when a bunch of us were sitting around a table talking about the city's services for people with disabilities, and we were struggling with a couple of different issues. The first issue was, how was the city going to meet its goal of providing services to people with disabilities when we had a budget that simply was causing us to cut services instead of increasing services. We were looking at a 10-year strategic plan that had been enacted several years before, and we had actually fallen far below the starting point of that strategic plan. And as we started talking about the issues related to this and our inability to provide these needed services, we then changed our conversation to how are we going to bring awareness to this. And as we went around the table, this idea of doing an event in a high-profile location came up. And we knew that October was Disability Awareness Month, and this was about 90 days before that. And we said, let's get this done by October. And everybody at the table looked at each other and said, we can't do this in 90 days. But by the time we left that meeting, we were all committed to make sure that event came off in 90 days, and it did. And it was the start of something that's become an annual tradition here at City Hall, and this is our 6th annual event. We do this because there are approximately 133 million people in the United States that live with chronic health conditions. We have at least 54 million people that have one or more disabilities. And we know that people with disabilities constitute the largest single minority group in our nation. We also know that people with disabilities experience unemployment at a rate that's over 10 times that of the national unemployment rate. We know that these disabilities are a wide range of disabilities. 44% of Americans with disability have a disability that is not considered severe, but limits them in some significant way, yet they're still able to work year-round on a full-time basis. So we've worked together to make sure that not only the folks at City Hall, but all the residents of San Jose understand what the issue is and bring awareness, but also to provide education and resources to persons who either are living with disabilities themselves or assisting people who are working with disabilities. Our event features educational workshops where people can go learn about a number of different things, from health services to emergency preparedness and kind of everything in between. A resource fair where we have for-profit, nonprofit, and governmental agencies available to show what resources they have to help people, and a variety of demonstrations. We've had demonstrations from a Paralympic sports team. We had a great exhibit last year with dancing and singing performance of women who were in wheelchairs. And our goal is really to provide the public at large and the people who suffer these disabilities the ability to come and see what their abilities really are and to see that the resources are there. So I encourage everybody to educate themselves on these issues. I hope that everyone here can join me and all the folks behind me at our 6th Annual Disability Awareness Day, which is this Friday, the 4th of October. It's going to be 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock right out front of City Hall in the plaza. I guarantee you'll have a great time, not only with the event that's happening, but I hear there's going to be a lot of those gourmet food trucks too, which might attract some others here. So I'd like Vice Mayor, if you could present Scott Shields from VMC. He's our chair of our Disability Awareness Committee. The proclamation declaring October as Disability Awareness Month in the city of San Jose. I know Scott, so I know he has something to say.
Well, I don't have to say a whole lot now because he took care of everything. Thank goodness. So I appreciate that. Yeah, we started this 6 years ago, and without the efforts of Councilmember Pete Constant, this would not have happened, along with the foundation, Santa Clara Valley Medical Center Foundation, who really puts a lot forward into making this happen as well. So I just wanted to also thank Council members Johnny KHAMIS, Councilmember Rose Herrera, and Donald Rocha for also supporting this event this year, along with San Andreas Regional Center. So I really encourage you to come out. It is a really good time. All the workshops are free. The food trucks are amazing. And the people who are at the event are also very amazing and very talented. So please come out, join us, and just to have a good time. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Dave Sykes, the Director of Public Works, to join me here at the podium. Today, we are presenting a proclamation declaring the City of San Jose participation in the 2013 Combined Giving Campaign from October 1st through November 15, 2013. The City of San Jose is committed to and supports charitable giving through an annual Combined Giving Campaign. Every year through the Combined Giving Campaign, city employees support some 300 local service agencies and nonprofits. These organizations have a direct impact on the lives of city residents. This year's campaign, Give Today, Change Tomorrow, runs from October 1st through November 15 and is coordinated by city employees. This year's campaign lead is the Departments of Public Works. And Dave, if you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. As the lead this year, I want to start off by recognizing the federations that help us with this effort. So today I have with me Linda Tolley from the United Way and also Shannon George from Community Health Charities. Not here, but also participating in the program as Earthshare and the local independent charities. As the Vice Mayor mentioned, there's over 300 charities, all different and worthy of your consideration. I'd also like to acknowledge all the department coordinators that volunteer to take on the role in their department of pulling together all the donations and the time donations for each department as this program moves forward. They really appreciate them volunteering to do this. I think it's important to remember that there are many people in our community that continue to struggle to meet their daily needs. And by participating in this program, we can really make a difference here at the city. So I want to encourage all staff here at the city to think about what cause that really is important to them, and to figure out a way to either donate a monetary donation or to figure out a way to contribute some time to one of these charities and give back to our community that's so important. I promise you, no matter what you can do, it will be greatly appreciated by those in need. So just a couple of things to remember. One, as the Vice Mayor said, the program starts today and goes through November 15th. And secondly, give today and change tomorrow. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Councilmember Rosa Herrera. Today, we are presenting a proclamation declaring September 30th through October 4th as Silicon Valley Manufacturing Week here in the city of San Jose. And Councilmember Herrera has a few more words.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Sometimes I think that it's kind of sometimes much of a secret that Silicon Valley or San Jose has a very robust manufacturing portion of our city. And so it's very much my pleasure to proclaim this week Silicon Valley Manufacturing Week in the city of San Jose, to acknowledge the manufacturers of Silicon Valley for creating the products and services that help drive the local and global economy. And I would like to welcome a couple of gentlemen here that are involved in organizations that are helping keep manufacturing going and standards high. And first of all, I'd like to introduce Greg Matter, who's Vice President of Jones Lang LaSalle, and is here on behalf of the Silicon Valley Manufacturing Roundtable, and also Gene Russell, President and CEO of Mannix. Manufacture remains San Jose and Silicon Valley's most concentrated and highest paying sector, with 1 out of 6 workers in San Jose being employed in manufacture, twice as concentrated locally than the national average. Manufacturing in San Jose is different from the traditional impression of large-scale manufacturing plants. A lot of our manufacturing is early stage, pilot manufacturing, much more technical kinds of manufacturing. It is sometimes hard to believe that there is enough manufacturing activity to employ over 150,000 people in Santa Clara County alone. Rather than large-scale manufacturing plants, manufacturers in Silicon Valley focus on product innovation and the development and introduction process. Local manufacturers continue to tell us that they are located here because this is where the ideas start. Manufacturing Week has been designed to expand knowledge about and improve general public perception of manufacturing careers and manufacturing's value to the U.S. economy. Manufacturing Week also provides learning opportunities for students, parents, educators, media, customers, suppliers, and the community at large. The rallying point for a growing mass movement, Manufacturing Week empowers manufacturers to come together to address their collective challenges so they can help their communities and future generations thrive. The Silicon Valley Manufacturing Roundtable was started as a partnership between local manufacturing stakeholders with the intent to foster dialogue and ensure that we provide awareness of the resources that exist in the area and provide a forum for continued discussion of key issues. And our Economic Development Department works with this organization. One of these local manufacturing stakeholders, the Corporation for Manufacturing Excellence, Mannix, is a nonprofit corporation established in 1995 to provide services to small and mid-sized manufacturers in Northern California. The Mannix teams brings an average of 20 years of private industry experience to provide a powerful depth and breadth of business know-how. So I'm really happy and proud here to recognize and proclaim September 30th, 2013 through October 4th, 2013, this week, as Silicon Valley Manufacturing Week. And Vice Mayor, would you please present, we have 2 proclamations, one to Greg Matter and one to Gene Russell.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Rose Herrera and also Vice Mayor NGUYEN. Manufacturing Day is in its 2nd year. We embraced it as a group along with the Silicon Valley Manufacturing Roundtable as a way to get the word out and to educate the public and students about the dynamic environment that exists today in manufacturing. In fact, there's 7,000 manufacturers within Santa Clara County, and they are a very dynamic force. They help California export tons of merchandise and goods, and in fact, manufacturing contributes 87% of the exports of California, and still employs 1.3 million folks, creates good wages and jobs and stability. So we think this is an excellent move by the council, and we really appreciate it. And if you're interested in further information and scheduling a tour of a local facility, please go Google or search, I guess on any engine, Manufacturing Day, or go to mfgday.com. And thanks so much for your support.
We will now move to the consent calendar. Are there any items Councilmember wants to pull? Anyone else? Can I get a motion for the balance? We have a motion to approve the balance. All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. 2.5, City Council Travel Reports. Councilmember Kansen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have just a couple of brief reports. As part of my work on the retirement boards, I attended the Retirement Research Consortium meeting a couple weeks back. I also attended the Governing Summit, which occurred in Washington, D.C. It's probably about 10 days ago now, and that was on the Cost of Government series. And then last week, I traveled to NLC's policy committees, where, as you know, I serve as the chairman of the Public Safety and Crime Prevention Committee, where we had our quarterly meeting and the annual leadership summit. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Constant. I also have a report. I just actually came back from Suwon in Seoul, South Korea yesterday. I was there from the 25th through the 29th. Had a chance to meet with the CEO of the Suwon Chamber of Commerce and Industry to talk about the potential economic opportunities that can be achieved and strength between Suwon and San Jose. I also had a chance to meet with the mayor of Suwon, and we discussed, again, potential sister city partnerships and economic opportunities between our two respective cities. I also had a chance to meet with the executives at Samsung Electronics and the executives at Nanotechnology Training Center in Suwon. Spent 2 days in Seoul, South Korea. Had a chance to meet with the executive vice president of the Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency, which is called KOTRA, and they actually have a branch office here in North San Jose. And then finally, probably the most important meeting of all the meetings was an opportunity to meet with the 3 executive vice presidents of Korean Air, including the senior vice president of passenger business division, who actually is the person in charge of making the recommendations whether or not Korean Air should come to San Jose. This person reports directly to the CEO and the board of Korean Air. So we're definitely inching a lot closer to the opportunity and the possibility of having Korean Air fly out of San Jose Mineta International Airport. So that's really good news. And I will be following up with airport staff to make sure that these communications continue to occur. Up next, we have the report of the city manager. Deborah? Oh.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council. I have 2 items today. One very briefly about the federal government shutdown, and then I will be asking Dave Sykes to help me with the second update, which is one on our new convention center First, very briefly on the shutdown, which started taking effect this morning. Currently we're not expecting any direct impact on the city right now, but staff is monitoring the situation, which, as you can imagine, unfolds daily. As the shutdown continues, there could be some economic ripple effects the longer it goes. The airport does report that the FAA remains in business and flights will continue normally. There could be some slowdowns by TSA and Customs as their budgets, staffing, and overtime are constrained by the shutdown the longer it goes, but currently there is no impact and the impacts remain uncertain. So we will keep a close watch, as you would expect. We'll keep you posted as we learn more, and we will likely use the city manager's weekly report to do so. And then on the second item, I did want to ensure that the council had a brief update on the completion of our fabulous new San Jose McHenry Convention Center project, which Dave will assist me with. Let me just tee this up by reminding us all that this was the result of a very successful partnership between our downtown hotels, Team San Jose, and the City of San Jose. As you might remember, the project was funded by a special hotel tax approved by the hotels themselves, and it's another great example in the City of San Jose of a collaborative and creative approach that does get things done in our city. Our entire team, including the staff from Public Works, Finance, Office of Economic Development, and our consultants and our contractors, deserve great credit for getting this over the goal line. And with that, I will turn it over to Dave to bring you through some of the highlights.
Thanks, Deb. Very much appreciate this opportunity to talk a little bit about the project as we've now completed it. I do want to start off by kind of looking back a little bit at what our original scope was. And if you recall, the goal was to get as much scope as we could for $120 million. So it included the demo of the old library. The expansion was going to be about 127,000 square feet and included a new ballroom and a bunch of new meeting space. We desperately needed a new central plant, fire alarm, and a building management system, and of course to do renovations in the existing building. And in the existing building, we had focused $20 million on the renovation, and to get as much as we possibly could out of that $20 million. So just to make it official, we did complete this project on time and within budget. We did add $10 million extra to the project to cover HVAC and kitchen improvements, which I'll cover in a second. Hard to believe, but we issued the notice to proceed on July 14th, and here we are in September with a completed project. In looking at the renovation plan in detail, I'm not going to go through the list, but you know, the tough part of this project was with the renovation. The construction of the new building, as you would expect, went quite smoothly. As stunning as that new building is, what is most remarkable is what we were able to achieve in the renovation, to be honest. The goal all along was to make sure that what we didn't end up with was a beautiful new building and a tired old building next to it. And so a lot of focus was on making sure that we achieved that goal in the renovation. And so you can see kind of what we thought we were going to be able to accomplish. And with these things on this list, we thought we could get there. We'd get to a situation where the old building was looking good. What I'm happy to report is we were able to achieve really much more than that. Down at the bottom of the slide, you can see the scope that we added with the additional $10 million that the council authorized. And at that point, we knew we were going to be able to upgrade the HVAC in the entire building and also do a complete renovation of the kitchen. What we weren't sure of is whether we were going to be able to do some significant enhancements to the plaza. And obviously, if you've been out there, you'll note that we were able to accomplish that within that extra $10 million. And then, of course, there's all the additional things that we were able to do within the project budget. And really, we were able to accomplish these things by using a strategy as we went along and gained certainty that we were going to be able to complete the fundamental scope items we were able to add additional scope items into the project, knowing that we'd have extra money to be able to accomplish those things. And so as you can see from that list, there was a lot we were able to do beyond what we thought we were going to do at the beginning of the project. I will note that there are some needs that we weren't able to get to, but as I've emphasized, we were able to do much more than we thought with the 120 plus the extra $10 million. If you go out there, you'll still see some work going on. Of course, the typical punch list work, but also, as I mentioned, some of the work we weren't able to authorize until we had certainty with the budget. And so we have completed the project, but you'll see this extra work still going on basically throughout the end of the calendar year. And so I'll just kind of end with this picture. This picture may look like a graphic, but it's an actual picture of the convention center, which I think is quite amazing. It shows the old building to the left, the expansion to the right, and of course the art feature on the plaza. I do want to just take a minute and thank a few key people that were involved with the project. Certainly starting off with Bill Sherry and his team at Team San Jose. We, through the course of the project, became great partners. Arn Andrews in finance, Patty Degnan and Danielle Keneally in the attorney's office, VJ and his team in IT, Jim Shannon in the budget office, Lee Wilcox in OED, Michael Lockwood at Populous Architects, Brent Leaf at Hunt Construction. Hunt did an amazing job on the project. And of course, my team in Public Works, and just a special thanks to Harry Freitas, who led this project from start to finish. So thank you for the opportunity to report on the project.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. This concludes our report.
Thank you very much, staff. I believe the council has some questions or comments. Councilmember KALRA.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just want to congratulate the entire staff and the team that did this. I mean, this is really an extraordinary accomplishment in the time frame in which it was completed, and we all were very cognizant of the time frame because we know that having a fully functioning convention center also allows you the ability not just for current events, but to book out a year, 2 years out, and get major conventions that will book for years to come, to have a product to be able to sell. You know, being there over the weekend for a convention and seeing how it was being used, I was particularly, I mean, obviously the ballroom's amazing, and the fact that we were able to do some main kitchen renovations and be really critical to get weddings and receptions and big grand events. So that's great. But the meeting rooms on the meeting, the exhibit hall level meeting rooms, and those are really, I mean, I think all of us have been to many conventions over the years, and those are the kinds of facilities that really make not just an impression, but make a big difference in the functionality of a convention. And it was a really great layout. The broad staircases where people can, you know, the corners where there's places where they can sit, and just very creative design. And so I really want to commend the design team and, of course, the contractor for executing it. The meeting rooms had little touches, like even the displays for each of the rooms, and I mean, just all these little touches, which I think really, in addition to the technological kind of not just the Wi-Fi, but the way signs, the digital way signs. I mean, all that I think really now puts us in a level where we can compete for some really great conventions for some of the companies in our own backyard. And I especially, and then one question I have is the central utility plant, fire alarm system, all those kind of back of the house things that people don't see. How much of the budget was that?
I might need some help from Harry. I think the fire alarm central utility plant was probably in the $12 million range. Yeah, 15 altogether for those back of the house things.
Yeah, and so that's really critical because people aren't going to see that, but from day one, that was probably the most important thing we had to do, no matter what, even if we did nothing else. And then to have a finished product come in on a reasonable budget. It wasn't an extravagant budget by any means compared to many other projects of this kind that are done in other parts of the country. So we had a reasonable budget, a very aggressive timeline that was beaten. And so I just want to congratulate the whole team. I know there's a little bit more work to do. And as we go forward, there can be other elements as we see practically as conventions come in and how it's being used. We get feedback from them. There may be other elements we can add to further accentuate the facility and make it even more attractive. But I just want to congratulate everyone.
Councilmember LICCARDO.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. I also wanted to join in the congratulations. You know, I know that started as a much larger project, a much more expensive project, and I really appreciate how everyone came together to scope this to something we could afford. And I think what we see now, that's a great money shot right there, that photograph. And you're right, I thought it was a graphic when I saw it, but that's real, and it's right here in San Jose. You know, I was standing there on the deck looking out into the Civic the other night when it was all lit up. I realized we're really starting to create something spectacular, and it's wonderful to see that starting with public infrastructure and public architecture. We often think that only happens in the private sector, but in fact we've got a public sector that's really driven to create great design and the kind of architecture that's going to be very appealing and attractive to people. So this is a great step for downtown. I want to ask a quick question about a prospective tenant on the plaza. I know there's been ongoing discussions. I don't know how much can be discussed publicly, but now I'm hearing about the interest of a competitor also moving in. I'm just wondering, who should we be talking to? Should it be somebody in public works or real estate or whatever about other folks who may be interested in taking that space on the plaza?
Yeah, I think actually we probably would follow up with Team San Jose. I think they're heading up that effort.
Excuse me, I hate to interrupt, but this has not been agendized as anything more than a city manager's report, and the public has no notice that there's going to be a discussion about the convention center and future tenants or anything of that sort. I mean, a brief summary, but to get into any great detail causes some concern. So,
yeah, my question was who to follow up with.
Well, that's appropriate.
And I think, you know, as the council is expressing their thanks, if you have follow-up for us, why don't we just take note of that, and then we will follow up with it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilmember Conson.
Thanks. I don't want to repeat what everyone else said. Great project, looks great, on time, on budget. Couldn't say anything better than what everyone else said. It's a great job. I just want to point out that in spite of all the construction, Team San Jose still exceeded their performance measures and the sales. And we expected, I remember having the discussions here, we knew we could handle the construction because we knew that our public works staff and everyone had the capability to do that. What we didn't know is how we were going to have the operations survive fiscally during the construction, and the cooperation between public works and the contractors and Team San Jose to allow them to be able to operate a convention center, book things, and exceed their revenue targets, I think is very important to note. So congrats all the way around.
Councilmember Herrera.
Just want to chime in. It's fantastic. I was able to see it for the first time the other night at the Business Journal event, and it's just the view out the windows and just the way that it all blends together is just fantastic. And we had an incredibly brand new conference there, starting the same on Thursday, technology and music. I think that's great, and that's indicative probably of more to come with attracting really great events and conferences. So I look forward to, again, regaining. You know, we talked about this before. It wasn't just trying to compete. It wasn't trying to compete with Las Vegas or some of the other big convention sites. It's really gaining the share of the local conferences that in really competing there. And I think we definitely have a facility now that we can do that.
That concludes the report of the city manager and council comments. We will now move to 4.2, Historic Landmark Nomination and Mills Act Historical Property Contract for the Absalom and Elizabeth Fryer House. We have no staff report. We have a motion to approve. All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We will now move to item 4.3, the Mills Act Historic Property Contract for the Ken Ying Lo Chinese Restaurant. We have no speakers. We have a motion to approve. All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We will now move down to 5.1, vending machine guidelines. And I believe we have a staff presentation.
Good afternoon. Julie Edmonds-Mades, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services. I'm joined by Deputy Director Suzanne Wolf. This is a cross-reference from the Neighborhood Services and Education Committee. In the Neighborhood Services and Education Committee work plan this year for the fall, it included a specific item for the Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services Department to review our vending machine guidelines that are applied at city community center hub locations. The PRNS proposals was heard and unanimously accepted by NSC on September 12th. The vending machine guidelines recommend choice-based decisions by increasing the current healthy options in vending machines at community centers from 50% to 75%. This recommended action is consistent with existing PRNS health and wellness programs where physical activity and education are encouraging healthier life choices. So I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne with a short presentation.
With that, we'd like to start with a video produced by our summer camp for, is that going to start?
Just a moment.
It will look at our inaugural Fit Camp program that we had this summer as part of our anti-obesity efforts in the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services.
For Fit Camp, we have 3 goals to try to improve the children's physical activity levels, to increase their knowledge of healthy eating habits, and to hopefully improve their self-esteem levels.
I joined Fit Camp because I wanted to learn.
So I joined to be more active and gain on my healthy eating.
I joined Fit Camp because I wanted to try something new. There's more chances that you're making new friends and meeting new people.
One of the things we have is personal workout time, where the kids pace themselves to go around the room during different exercises. And then they record their times or reps in their own journal, and they let us know so that we can record them and reward them at the end of the session.
In the journal writing, I like how we write how we did in our personal workout time.
The start pretty much is by the end of the camp, or the 2 weeks, they get prizes out of it.
Another thing we do here at Fit Camp is our stretches and our warm-ups. We do that daily before we get started on any physical activity. Through the stretches, we've taught them the correct form.
I feel like my physical activity has grown during the summer in Fit Camp because every day we do stretches and we do warm-ups and activities during the day.
And we also teach them more into organized sports so that they can get an idea of what it's like working on a team, as well as interest in organized sports.
My favorite activities are the sports. Each week we do different sports. Like this week we're doing soccer, last week we did baseball, and learning new sports has helped me be more athletic.
We challenge them weekly with the President's Fitness Test.
If it's the beginning of a camp, or the beginning of the session, we will do our presidential activity, which include the shuttle, the mile, the sit and reach, sit-ups, and chin hang. We just take them around to each section and we all knock it out.
Every Friday we do the President's Fitness Test, and at the mile I don't stop in 12 or 11 minutes. Yes, I think my physical activity level had gained because every 2 weeks we had the President's Fitness Test, and I gained my level.
Some of the field trips that we've gone on for Fit Camp, well, all of them actually have been very exciting for the kids.
Our field trips are pretty much surrounded by, I want to say, physical activity. You know, as far as it's kind of different from a lot of other summer camp field trips. We try to install different types of fitness environments for the kids.
What I like about the field trips is Heroes Martial Arts, because Heroes Martial Arts helped me to escape some bad people.
And in addition to all that, we do cover a lot of healthy eating. It's a little bit new for some of the kids, no chips and cookies, but they've gotten a lot more accustomed to it.
We eat here a lot of fruit, and that showed me how to eat more healthy here.
so now I eat more healthy at my house.
At Fit Camp, I have learned how to be active and eat more healthy and how to grow my self-esteem.
Pretty much just to have the kids, first of all, learn healthy habits as far as eating right and working out right, and just their self-esteem, build up their self-esteem.
It's really fun meeting new friends and doing new stuff here at Fit Camp.
And through the activities that we do every day, we hope that at the end of the session, they have made some gains.
So far at Fit Camp, I learned how to stay healthy and not bully other people. Yes, I would go back to Fit Camp because it's fun and having new friends. And
So that was the longer version of our short Fit Camp video. But we really appreciated that the youth were engaged in a whole variety of physical activities, large motor skills, as we were working very closely with families as part of continuing anti-diabetes efforts and as part of the National Let's Move campaign. With that, we'll continue with our presentation. What we asked, Darcy Green from Kaiser Permanente came with us and shared that their findings from their efforts around healthy vending programs. And the two things on this slide I wanted to highlight is one, that they found that 100% was difficult, so they looked at 75% guidelines so they could allow individuals to make better choices, and that there was a strong need for public education and outreach about the benefits of healthy eating. And they had a lot of focused nutritionists and individuals that were taking surveys near their vending machines, and they came up with an amended guideline to have 75% healthy options. And again, Darcy Green shared with us in the committee about how at first they thought having 100% healthy options would be the best, but what they found that was most important was giving folks choices to continue to be healthier as the focus of their effort. We had 2 stakeholder meetings with our teen program at Mayfair, and we did a city staff focus group that also included ABA and the vendor for our vending machines that talked about what was important to them. And we found that the youth were very open to vending machine changes, that they look at the closest snack available to them while they were hungry, and where our city staff indicated that it would not influence change in their eating habits, either being healthier or unhealthier. There was a lot of discussion about multiple factors in a vending machine that had to do with GMO issues related to packaging materials, sustainability, and so we recognized that the vending machine changes would not likely alter consumption habits and behavior of our overall city staff, but we focused it where we're working closely with youth today at our community centers. So that brings us to our recommendation before council today for a guideline of 75% healthy options at our 10 community center hubs where youth are present. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you very much, staff. I just wanted to share my comments. We heard this item, as staff stated, at the Neighborhood Services and Education Committee on September 12th. These vending machine guidelines recommended are based on the choice-based decisions, providing 75% healthy options in vending machines at the various community centers. This is part of the city's effort in our coordinations with Let's Move campaign and also the city's anti-obesity initiative. Also, staff mentioned that Ms. Darcy Green, representing Kaiser Permanente, actually agree with the recommendations based on the work that they initially did. So I'm very supportive of staff's recommendations, and I hope that this is something that we can look forward to in helping to reduce obesity among the youth in our city. Councilmember Herrera.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I don't know if there were people. Is there anybody to speak on this? I don't know if there was public testimony. If you want to hear that first.
Yeah, we actually have 2. So do you want to hear that first?
Yeah,
okay.
that'd be fine. Then.
Yeah. Richard McCoy.
Good afternoon, councilmen, council members, and ladies. Wanted to talk about the report. While understand perfectly well that the obesity of our youth is something of concern. It also neglects to address the problems of the seniors, because a lot of these community centers are also senior centers, and we were not contacted. The Senior Commission was not contacted or as a stakeholder in part of this, and feel that we could have input something to add to the issue and to come up with an opinion on it. And the fact that a lot of the centers, like for example the Cypress Community Center, is basically almost 100% senior center now, and yet they're talking about going into vending machines there and providing water. So the Senior Commission felt we should have been contacted and be taken into the part of this report and given our opinion on it. And we hope that in the future that the Parks and Rec Department will also consider the seniors as a stakeholder for many of the reports they make. Thank you.
Martha O'Connor.
I would love to speak to you as a commissioner, but I can't do that because we were not given the opportunity to see this document, to vote on it, or to discuss it. Commencing on August 27th, I have a trail of emails that I sent to PRNS asking if they were going to come up with a policy. All I got was silence and evasion. We met on September 12th. At the same time we were meeting as a senior commission, we had no idea that this document was before a commission in another part of City Hall. It could have been on our agenda. We should have been notified. We should have been given we should have had the opportunity to give input. This is really outrageous. Stakeholder meetings, 14 youth out of a city of how many million? 14 youth and city staff. That's not a stakeholder meeting. That's skewing the results of a focus group. So once again, we asked repeatedly to have input into this. We were denied, and I found out last night at about 7 p.m. that this was going to be on the agenda. So shame on the folks that manipulated this. The seniors should have had input. It's going to affect the centers where we go, and we're just as important as the youth. Thank you.
That concludes the public comment. Councilmember Herrera.
So I'd like to start off with a question to Julie. Can you address some of the concerns here about seniors not being able to have input?
So it is true. We had the NSC committee hearing the same day that the Senior Commission was having its quarterly hearing, and this is a difficulty we have in scheduling quarterly meetings with our Senior Commission to do so. However, our vending machine guidelines, we focused around our youth efforts because our senior programs, the nutritional standards are the county standards, which are 100% healthy, and have dietitians from the county that focus on healthy and nutritious meals during the lunch hour.
So the meals that are served into the senior program comport with the county policy, but the vending machines are separate, and that's something that is now 50-50, I think, right?
It is currently 50-50, and there's still choices for 25% to be less than healthy and 75% to be healthier.
So I'm about to make a motion to support staff recommendation, but I want to know, as a part of this motion, can we, that 25%, in fact, the 75%, the things that we're going to have additionally healthy, can we get feedback from seniors too, in terms of what we're going to stock? Because I have no idea when we say 75%, how many items that is, and what kind of items that'll eventually result in. Although I'm very moved by Kaiser suggesting that this is the right ratio. Kaiser's pretty significant in prevention and done a lot of research and efforts in lots of different areas, and when they say that they've looked at this and this is the right number, that's rather convincing to me. But I'd like to understand what that actually would look like in terms of what those healthy foods are and what is a healthy food. For me and someone, I struggle with obesity, and I'm on a program now, and I know that I eliminate salt. A lot of salt, high salt is not good for you, as well as sugar. And I'm sure there's other basic things too. And just me personally, I would like the opportunity to go to a vending machine and find something that's healthy. So I think it's about options for people who are really trying to stay healthy and who have to for health reasons or to lose weight. And you need. But I also think that if we have a total ban on it, 100% healthy, then I think then then people sort of feel like their choice is taken away from them. And I think so we have to balance it. So the 75-25 makes sense to me, but I would like to see us really articulate what the healthy choices are and get some input from seniors in terms of how those vending machines are eventually going to be stocked. I think we need to have that input. I think it's just showing respect for the community that goes to those facilities, and I think that's what they're saying to us. So with all of that, I would like to make a motion to support staff recommendations, and I want to thank my colleagues on Neighborhood Services and Education for bringing this forward, and staff for your work on it. And again, I'd like to move forward staff recommendation for 75% healthy choice and 25% in our community centers. I believe that's what we're talking about right now. If I can get a second.
Thank you. Councilmember Constant.
Thank you. First off, I want to applaud the educational aspects because I think that's how we should approach it. I might argue that the video was great, but I don't think it has anything to do with the vending machines decision that we're making today. But I do think that we need to be focusing our efforts on education more than anything else. Yeah, I question the outreach in a number of areas, not just the concerns from the Senior Commission, which I think are valid concerns, but I was on NSC when this first came out, the proposal first came out, and there was a brief discussion about how the process would go forward. And when I thought of community outreach, I didn't think about us going talking to one small group of kids at one youth center and making a decision based on that. And I think that the community outreach on this pales compared to what we've done in almost any other effort that I've seen on the council, and that concerns me. You know, a staff focus group, that's why we have staff reports. I don't really see that as stakeholder outreach because there are staff. But I do think that if we're going to do these outreach, we need to look at what the evidence says, even though I would argue that it's nowhere near being valid evidence because you have such an incredibly small group of people that you're talking to. But both the youth center, the youth and the staff and the Kaiser indicate that if the choices aren't there, the people's choice is not to purchase and to go elsewhere. And I think that that's pretty clear. I think that Kaiser showed that 100% is not viable. I think the 50% where we're at is a good thing. People can have a choice. What I would have liked to have seen is some outreach to our vendors that said when we went from 100% to 50%, what was the change in impact? Because we know there's basically two choices. You have a choice between A and B, healthy or non-healthy, or you have a choice between buying and not buying. And both of those decisions are made by the consumer at the time they're standing in front of that machine. And I think that, quite frankly, we didn't do anything to quantify how many of those decisions are a complete opt-out versus participation. I think that we had an opportunity that we could have looked at the vendors that vend to Santa Clara County, and we could have got some information from them about how choices changed between the different percentages. And I think that really that's what we should have done. And I think the Kaiser experiment clearly showed that when people have no choice, their choice is not to participate. And especially in a health facility where people are thinking about health. You have employees that are in the healthcare profession who grumbled about it. You have people who are there because of health reasons, so health is on their mind, and they grumbled about it, and they all chose not to participate in a number big enough to cause a concern to Kaiser. I think those are all things that should have weighed heavier in our staff analysis. Really what we're doing is whether you have a 40%, 50%, 60% choice, it's not as much as what the percentages are as what the products are in the machine, and that's where our effort should be in talking to those vendors. The limited number of vendors I spoke to, which were two, neither one of them who service us, but are in the vending machine business. I spoke to them a while back when we were first talking about this. Both said that every time they've seen changes like this, the sales drop
significantly, which lead to indicate that the choice is an opt-out choice, not an A or B choice. So I don't think we really have any data, reliable data, to make a decision on. I think we give people a choice right now. We have folks that are going to make the same decision, whether it's 50% or 75%, unless we concentrate on the educational aspect. The Kids Fit Camp is a great example of an educational thing, but I see it completely disengaged from this vending discussion, and I would much rather have seen all the staff time that we took to make a minor change like this going into more educational opportunities for people who come to our facilities, people who live in our city, people that make choices. Because if the choice is a Snickers or a fiber bar, it doesn't matter if there's 50 Snickers and 150 fiber bars or one Snicker and one fiber bar. The choice is still an A-B choice. So anyway, I don't support it because I don't think we've got the evidence to really make an informed decision, and I'm really concerned about what I consider to be a very weak stakeholder outreach, and I hope that as we move forward on policy issues and decisions, that when we talk about outreach, we're going to have comprehensive outreach to all of our stakeholder groups. And if we don't have a specific commission like the Senior Commission or the Parks and Recreation Commission, then that's what we have the Neighborhoods Commission for.
Councilmember Campos.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. First of all, good work, staff. I think you're on the right path, but I tend to agree with Pete in terms of. No, but well, stay on your chair, because I might not totally agree with you. But I can't see. Well, actually, help me understand why you just chose one group out of all the 10 hub centers, one teen group, and this being the Mayfair group, and not even poll seniors, because seniors get a nutritional meal at the senior centers, but they still have access to the vending machines, and so I don't think what they're asking is to give feedback on what choices, whether you stock it with a Snickers bar or a Butterfingers, but is that? I think they're asking. No one even consulted us, and maybe the seniors would say 100% healthy or 60% healthy, or come up with a different percentage. And I'm just trying to understand why just one group of youth, and is this enough? Is this enough feedback from one stakeholder group to be able to, propose a change? And again, I think you're on the right path. I like the change, but it would be great to have more feedback, especially when we also have a youth commission that, one commissioner represents each district, but then they also have their youth advisory boards.
Yes and yes. So in the fact that we have the information that came from Kaiser and Santa Clara County and our research from some of the other cities indicated that choice was an important aspect. And so whether it's looking at where adults make decisions, they have more options to make decisions, and we included seniors in that in terms of understanding that adults can have different options and have places to drive or have other places to go for those choices. Youth do not, and so that's where we were focused on the youth piece. We looked at Kaiser's information and felt that it resonated as a common sense approach. And although we do not have dietitians on staff, nor are we experts in every nutritional aspect of every issue that possibly could come up around healthier eating, we did resonate with us that for youth choices where we could move towards healthier, that's our goal, whether it's from our Rethink Your Drink campaign, where it's going from a Coke to a Diet Coke to juice to water. Our goal was to try to get healthier in our approach, the way we look at obesity efforts with physical activity, as well as our education campaigns that we work with the Santa Clara County Health aspect. So whereas seniors, we've not done that as much, nor have we done it with adults. Youth, we certainly have, and that's been our focus area. So we wouldn't disagree that we could have done more outreach, but it wasn't the influencing factors for this outcome of affecting youth at our community centers.
Because the first thing that pops to mind, given this group at the Mayfair Center, is, and I don't know if you realize, there is a vendor that parks themselves outside of the community center every single day with probably more unhealthy choices that are in the vending machines, and perhaps that could have skewed their, well, if I can't get it in the vending machines, no big deal, I'll just get it out on the sidewalk. Also brings up the issue that we also strengthened our ordinance on street vending, where, you know, if you're going to vend healthy choices, you can be on our property or you can be next to a school, but if it's going to be unhealthy choices, then you got to move along. And you know, I don't know if that was factored into our ability to enforce that, or are we going to start enforcing that? Because, you know, I was just over there and that vendor's still there.
Councilmember, that's a follow-up item we'd have to find out. Currently, we're not monitoring that as the Parks Recreation Department, but I can definitely check in with our colleagues and ask in about that.
But do you get where I'm coming from? That because we can't get into the youth's minds. They could have been thinking that, okay, well, no big deal, I'll just go right there. Which, if you spend enough time in those centers, kids walk from Lee Matson, they stop at that vendor, they go to their program at the center. It happens all the time. And so I'm not sure how accurate perhaps the opinions are. And it would have been very interesting to see what kids at the Cambrian Center, kids at the Washington Center, or the Roosevelt Center, what their opinions would have been as well. And again, I think you're on the right path. I really do. You know, and I this is, you know, it's about time that we're starting to do that. But you know, I think you really limited getting all information from kids from all across the city.
Councilmember Rocha.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. A couple questions. What was the total return? I know it was in the staff report when I heard this at committee. The total return to the city on the vending machine contract was 20-something thousand.
The total contract is about $20,000, and the proposed loss that we would perceive from this would be about projected to be about $2,000.
Okay, thank you. And the interesting point for me, when having heard this at committee, and let me be the first to apologize to the Senior Commission, as I had talked about and made it clear that I thought we should be doing a better job of referring things out to commissions, and I sit on that committee, so the failure is just as much with me as with anybody else when this issue was first raised about discussing this issue, that we could have sent it off for referral to the Youth Commission or the Senior Commission or the Parks and Rec Commission or the Neighbors Commission just for some feedback. Again, that's more of a reminder to me, so I'll take responsibility for that just as much as anybody else. So with that said, I appreciate the outreach you did do, but the point to me that I still struggle with that committee and I struggle with today is this statement on page 2 in the box where it says youth are open to vending machine changes, and then directly across city staff focus group, staff agreed that vending machine changes would not influence significant change in eating. So it's almost as if the youth are more aware and willing to understand that options doesn't mean that the Coke and the Milky Way isn't still there. There's just other options. But yet our focus group of city staff, as I understand it from the committee presentation still today, were reluctant for this change, whatever it may be, and still felt whatever you do is not going to change what I'm going to do. Well, having 8 rows of Coke and 1 row of juice, it's a visual impact to me, not a true impact. So if the option is still there for as many Cokes as you want to drink that day, then I don't understand the reluctance from the adults, so to speak, of having the 75% ratio. I mean, no one suggested at any level that we should be going 100% as far as I understand. So that's what always stuck with me, why the youth were a little more understanding of the fact that their options are still going to be there if they wanted a Pepsi, but yet the adults were pushing back. So Not that you need to answer that, but that one, so based upon that, when we did the research, and your staff has been helpful in providing me some other information, you're recommending at the centers where youth are present, but not at the facilities where youth aren't. And there's, I think, 10 of them, which is our animal care facility, the service yards, Mayberry Williams, Mayberry Yard, the fire department training center, the police garage, the police training center, City Hall, and the West Yard. So those are all really city staff driven, not youth focused, and you didn't recommend those based upon the feedback you heard from the focus group. But again, if the options are still there, then I'm still at a loss as why we're not moving in that direction anyway, just to make the contract quite simply that we're going with the 75% ratio. So there's my long question and where I'm still left on this issue.
Thank you, Councilmember. The response from our adult city staff members was that they felt that the sliver of times that they went to a vending machine, that the outcome would not change whether or not there was healthier foods or not healthier foods for city staff. They felt they would go to, if they wanted to have
but what's
candy.
the impact? It's there.
Right? They might go across the street and pick up
but it's there. So what's the impact? If that bad choice or whatever it is still there, what's the impact to them?
There seemed to be no impact to adult choices around them choosing healthier.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I guess I'm still left with the question, but I appreciate the work you've done on this and for even spending time on this. I understand your bandwidth and resources is not set up to manage an issue such as this, and for such a small contract to go through this brain damage, as I would call it today, and hearing from this council on this wonderful issue. I'd like to ask just a friendly amendment on, we're going with all the facilities here, the community centers, if you'd be willing to just apply this to the remaining sites where we have a vending machine to.
I think we've heard enough objection even about what we're doing right now to make me give pause. Well, we've heard a couple council members, I think, and the public. But I, like you, feel that if we did decide this is the right way to go, I wonder why we don't just apply it to everything and make it simpler. I'm wondering if there's something in the middle here where we could maybe have staff look at that impact, not necessarily, at least have them take a look at it. More
staff time on this. I'd rather just go up and down on it today, and if you're not comfortable with that, then you're not comfortable with it.
I'm trying to work with.
I understand.
With everyone involved here. I am concerned about the lack of outreach, but the one thing I would like my colleagues to consider is, who did the outreach to put all the food that exists in the vending machines now in the first place? Who did that outreach and decided how many Snickers and how many Milky Ways and how many? When was that outreach done, that we developed this gold standard of junk food in our vending machines? So I think we're now taking a look at what do we want to offer. And I just want to say again, and I know it isn't always the best to talk about yourself personally, but I am somebody who's struggled with obesity for about 20 years now, and it is difficult. And if we can prevent one child, if we can do something to give options and to help children and prevent them from dealing with a lifetime of struggle, I'm for that. And I'm all for the additional outreach. I'd even be supportive if we tabled this thing and went to the seniors, because I'm big on outreach. So I fought for the Neighborhoods Commission. So I'm a little surprised that we hadn't done this outreach. I'm coming in on the tail end of this. I'm not on the Neighborhood Committee, but I do think this is the right way to go. And I think we need to reach out to young people, because we want to try to prevent this from being a lifelong struggle that they then have to deal with diabetes, high blood pressure, all the other horrible diseases that result from staying obese and not dealing with it, and the cost to our healthcare system and the cost to our society. So that's how I personally feel, and just needed to say that.
Are you willing to support the recommendation to apply at all facilities at 75%? Sorry. In
an effort to maintain compromise here, I told you what I was willing to do, have them take a look at it. I don't know if the Vice Mayor wanted to have some input into this, because this is she's definitely been one of the leaders on this issue.
Thank you. At this moment, I'm not in support of making this policy change at the various places, including the vending machines here at City Hall, or at the Animal Care Center, or the Department of Transportation, or the Water Pollution Control Plant. I think at the end of the day, adults really, they can make their own choice of what they want to eat, or what kind of junk food they want, or what kind of healthy food they want. If somebody wants to drink Diet Coke like Sam LICCARDO does, that's fine. And if somebody wants to drink fruit juices, that's fine too. But I don't think that we should regulate and trying to impose this kind of restrictions on people. It's one thing to encourage youth to think about healthy choices, but it's another thing to tell an adult here at City Hall what he or she should pick up at the vending machine. And so I just can't support something like that. I think what staff recommendation has today is the right way to go. It's an approach that we're trying to curb youth obesity, and that's the direction that I like to see this council take. So
To be clear, I was suggesting that the 75%, there's no regulation or eliminating the choice. Right. It is instead of 8 rows of Coke, you had 1 row of Coke and then maybe some options, which I was a big proponent of when I first started here, and that's why I have orange juice in the refrigerator finally, was having an orange juice option, an apple juice, a cranberry. When you have 8 rows of Pepsi, you don't have another row for all the different choices. Right, so again, I wasn't recommending there is none. I was recommending
That's right, and I understand that fully, but I think that in an organizations with over 5,000 employees, and you look at the ratio of not so healthy food compared to healthy food, then the ratio is still pretty large on the part of the non-healthy food. But what I'm saying is just that I just feel uncomfortable trying to change something that I believe that adults should have the minds and the heart to do themselves. So if you have over 5,000 employees and you have 75%, which I think is a lot of healthy food versus 25%, I think that's reasonable. If you have 8 rows of Coke or Diet Cokes or Pepsis, then obviously, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I just think that I feel very uncomfortable changing our current policy and trying to impose anything for adults. That's not our decisions to make. I think that, the path that we're going in terms of curbing youth obesity is the right one. Okay, so I guess that concludes that discussion. Councilmember KALRA.
That was, thank you. I'm very confused. Because what we're doing is we are doing a regulation that's not limiting options. And so Councilor Rocha was suggesting that we apply it to all vending machines. All the unhealthy options will still be in there. We're not telling anyone what to eat, but I am glad that as opposed to when I went forward, at least with the suggestion of a sugar-sweetened beverage ban at facilities where there's a high ratio of children, that at least now we have an agreement there is a role that the government does have in at least considering what we do provide to our populace. And this meeting it wasn't on 8/26, the NSC meeting was actually on September 12th. Is that correct? I think the 8/26 was canceled because I know that I went to Rules Committee prior to the NSC meeting. What I didn't know was that 2 days before that Rules Committee meeting, that the report came out, for the committee that the Vice Mayor chairs, recommending action on vending machines and regulating what should be in them or not. Now, whether it's removing sugar-sweetened beverages from certain facilities that we have a high volume of children versus mandating 75% healthy options, that's just a matter of degree. And I'm very surprised that at that committee meeting, rather than just simply saying, oh, by the way, we're going to have this issue come up in neighborhood services, we're going to be talking about what's in our vending machines, and there's a suggestion of 75% healthy foods, which is something I'm absolutely supportive of as opposed to no healthy foods, that instead there was simply just a statement that I was somehow way out of line for even making a suggestion that we have a role and we should care about what we provide at our facilities. Does this recommendation from staff apply to community centers and libraries, or community centers only? I know that Councilor Rocha indicated that it's not going to apply to certain city facilities where it's just city staff.
Councilmember KALRA, this is a very focused analysis. It's just the 10 community center hubs where the city staff is operating. Well, and that would include 2 joint facilities with libraries. Well,
I appreciate that the Vice Mayor doesn't want to regulate what adults do, but many of those hub centers, including Southside, are almost exclusively seniors. So there are no children It's the seniors that are, and the staff are 95% of the attendees at Southside. When we have a very active nutrition program, and then we have the staff that's on site. We have a daycare program and so on, but and maybe some classes here and there. But most of the classes are adult oriented. And I just bring it up because I think that it's much easier rather than having staff keep on going back and retweaking this, that. If we're not removing options, I mean, I think it's a little bit different from what Councilor Constant said, where it's not a Snicker bar versus a Fire bar. It's the option of a Snicker bar, a Fire bar, a trail mix, and an apple. Now you're increasing the likelihood that someone may choose something other than that Snicker bar. They still may choose it, and frankly, what might be on the sidewalk or what might be across the street is really irrelevant because we can't and are not going to control and don't want to control what other people can sell. This is just a matter of what the city of San Jose is offering to folks that use our community centers. So I'm glad that, first of all, that at least it seems the consensus of folks here agrees that the city does have a responsibility to the residents, particularly children, to consider what it sells or provides to residents at city facilities like community centers, and that it is within the city's role to maximize healthy options that are provided to residents and staff. That's very different than the impression I got during the Rules Committee when my suggestions were made, and when I made it very clear I wasn't trying to take sodas from Little League games, but rather what the city provides. And why are we not considering libraries if the focus is children?
Councilmember, this is a direction from the work plan of the Neighborhood Services and Education Committee, and it was very focused. Again, the conversation was about youth and our youth initiatives for healthy choices, and that's why we focused our limited, as you know, our limited analysis, because this is really vending in community centers is kind of a sliver of what we do. Our main focus is recreational.
Aren't our libraries already there?
Yes, as I mentioned, there are 2 joint facilities,
Okay.
and so the 2 joint facilities, these standards would be, we would be talking to the library about that, but we're envisioning that they would have the same policy in place.
That the library would have the same policy on the vending machine?
I believe Neil Ruffino from the library department is here. The library actually has policies of their own in regard to vending.
I think, though, Julie, what you said was the libraries that are co-located with the community centers, which are 2.
That's correct, 7 Trees and Bascom.
Okay. Well, I think that this is something where, although I agree with mandating, which is this is a regulation and a mandate, requiring 75% healthy options is a good thing because you're still giving plenty of options to folks. However, it seems the fact that we're only limiting it just to the 10 hub centers, which all have different varying functions, many of which certainly there are children, some of which are co-located with libraries, some are not. And then if the suggestion is that at facilities like where there's adult staff that it's not going to change behavior, it would seem, and I don't know if this is what Councilman Rocha was going at, but this is certainly what I got from the back and forth discussion, is that it wouldn't have a negative impact on anyone working in those facilities. It has no negative impact on anyone working in City Hall because you're still going to have the vending machine, you're still going to have the Snickers bars, and you'll have trail mix, and you'll have a variety of options. It's just providing a range of options, because I'll tell you that if it's simply what is the least expensive to stock and the quickest off the shelf, then you're going to get more unhealthy options. I rarely eat anything from vending machines because there aren't healthy options. And if there were some, I may actually get something from a vending machine. And so at this point, if it's just up to the market, we're not providing everyone with options right now. So I would make a suggestion that at all of the vending machines that it be 75% healthy, mostly because I agree with Councilor Rocha that we shouldn't have to waste more staff time on this if what we're doing is going to just cover some of the vending machines and come back with a report on the others. And I would agree with Councilor Herrera that we should certainly reach out to the Senior Commission and Youth Commission and see what their behavior is, see what kinds of options they would like as well, because I think that will ultimately help the vending machine contractors and companies, that if they are going to put healthy options, they put stuff that people are actually going to eat. And so they can continue to sell and make their profit, and we can make whatever, a couple $1,000s we make off the machines as well. So I'll offer a substitute motion that the 75% healthy options apply to all the machines that are under the contract.
I want to be clear. I don't know if this contract applies to other city facilities. I know it does apply to libraries where it's 100%, and it applies to community centers where it's 50% currently. But I don't know if it goes beyond that. It's a month-to-month. The contract's actually expired, so the guy's on a month-to-month right now.
That's correct. It's the actual vending contract is for community centers only, and that's what we evaluated. And just to correct myself earlier, there are actually 3 joint facilities: Almaden, Bascom, and
Julie, just to
Seven Trees.
follow up on Rick's question then, so the evaluation, the contract includes other city facilities like City Hall. Is that accurate? Is it one big contract?
Correct. There is a procurement process that will take place to go from a month-to-month contract to a new vending procurement process, and we'll be going through that. We did no product analysis, though, in our discussions, and that would be contingent on choosing a vendor and having them work through their product lines.
And what's the timeline for the procurement process?
We'll have to check in with the finance department and establish a.
But in the meantime, we're month to month. As he makes his way down. In the meantime, we are month to month, so obviously the vending machines will still be filled, but they'll still be able to provide the products until you have the procurement process in place.
Councilmember Mark Giovanetti from Finance, Purchasing, 4 months.
Okay. So I think this is the perfect opportunity for us to just go out and make that part of the process. And so that way the vendors come in with their eyes wide open. You have an opportunity to go to the commissions, get their feedback on what items they'd like to see in there, so that when the vendor comes back for their bid, they have they not only understand what the contract is, but they have the opportunity to fulfill it in a meaningful manner, as opposed to us going out to procurement while we're still analyzing, some of the machines, and some of the machines have one requirement, other machines have another. I think it's just easier to have as many of the machines as possible under the same requirement, and it'll make the bid, I would imagine that would make the bid a little bit less complicated than saying X number of machines, this is the requirement, these machines, that's the requirement. It'll just make it a simpler bid. So I have the same substitute motion on the table that it says do 75% now. It doesn't limit anyone's choice, and allows us another additional reason, allows us the opportunity to go out to bid for the procurement that will get bids with eyes wide open from these companies, so they'll know exactly what it is they're supposed to provide, and there'll be plenty of time for feedback from the commissions.
Okay, so we have a substitute motion asking the city to provide 75% of food and drink options at the 10 community centers, as well as all the city facilities. On that motion, Councilmember LICCARDO.
I'll support the substitute motion, and I think just as I was willing to substitute the original motion, or willing to support the original motion, if nothing else out of a desire to see this council move on to something that has a more significant impact on our residents than a $20,000 contract relating to a few vending machines in a few city buildings. I'm not sure I understand what choices are impacted by whatever we put in a vending machine in a public building when anyone can walk next door to the 7-Eleven and get whatever they want. I would have supported 100% conversion to healthy food. It would have been fine with me. I think this is an action the city manager should take. I don't think they should even come to council. I don't think we need any stakeholder meetings. I think we should put a suggestion box out there somewhere next to a vending machine and let folks tell us what they want, and we can take that input and incorporate it. I just don't, we had 13 people in the city sitting through a stakeholder meeting on this, and I can't imagine what that costs the taxpayers. I just don't understand why we're taking this much time with this. So I would be supportive of anything that avoids more stakeholder meetings. I'm certainly open to talking to the Senior Commission or the Youth Commission or anyone else about how they feel about this. But ultimately, I think this should be the city manager's call or the park director's call. And I fully support a move to healthier eating, and I see no reason why we can't get there without all this extraordinary, excruciating amount of effort.
Councilmember Constant?
I agree with several points of that, but not all. I just want to say there's a couple of comments here that have been gross exaggerations, like Councilman KALRA, you said that right now people have no options. Well, 50% healthy options, a lot of options. So to say they have no options, I know, yeah, but I just, all right. He agrees with me on this one limited issue, but it's important that we're clear. And Councilmember Rocha, most of our vending machines don't even have 9 rows, let alone 9 rows of Coke and Pepsi. So when you have a 50% option already, let's at least be realistic and try and keep it to the facts. And I don't really care to go down and count the rows because I don't buy out of the vending machines. But none of our machines, I guarantee you, have 9 rows of Coke and Pepsi. They all have a 50% choice in them. And, I think to have a motion that substantially changes what we're doing, I mean, the agenda item clearly says community centers, and I bet you if there are probably a few people that if they knew it was a citywide thing, that they would be more likely to give input. And I think it's a substantial change, and I think it's wrong for us to make that. I'm going to vote against it either way, so I don't really care.
Councilmember Herrera.
I'm going to support the substitute motion. I was on the verge of accepting the friendly amendment. I think it's too much work to go through this another time and have staff reevaluating the whole thing. So I hope, though, that we will reach out to everyone to make sure that the choices we put in there are things that people want. But more healthy choices are better. I agree with Councilmember LICCARDO. This probably should have been handled by city manager or staff. We're spending an awful lot of time on this, but I think we might as well take it all up at once. So let's do an up or down vote on this.
Councilmember Oliverio.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. During this intensive discussion, I took the time to go downstairs to the parking garage to visit the dispensing machine, one I have not used since I've been here at City Hall, and stared at it with quite fascination at the variety of selections and choices that were there. And I just feel that the way it seemed just fine to me the way it is. Thank you.
Okay, well, that concludes the council discussion on this item. We have a substitute motion made by Councilmember KALRA, and that is for the city to provide 75% of food and drink options at community centers and all city facilities. On that motion.
Oh, Madam Vice Mayor, Ed Shikata, over here. Oh. Sorry about that. Just in the interest of staff as we proceed, since I believe, quite frankly, there are some variables that we haven't yet had the opportunity to take a look at. If we could take this direction from council as permissive rather than limiting, then staff can take it under advisement and proceed from there.
I think that's good. I think it's to come back. I take that as coming back with a proposal. Can I note, it's my understanding that the libraries have 100% requirement at this point. Already. And so that would be lessening.
The motion was just community centers as well as the other city facilities that were referred to, like city.
And not to change the library.
No change there, yeah.
So what do you mean by that?
To the extent, just as an example, so to the extent that the libraries are at 100%, I'm not sure if there is a separate contract for libraries. Okay, so there's not. So I think reconciling some of those requirements may be one issue. In addition, it might make sense for us to get options from vendors as opposed to saying 75% is it, so we can look at the financial impact of those options, as well as, I'm sure, logistics that I haven't even thought of.
So
there is the stakeholders. Okay, not the least of which would be our employees.
The fiscal impact, I'm not sure that's going to sway this council on their vote, whether it's $2,000 or $1,000 or $500. So again, I'm not so sure the flexibility we're providing is going to allow you for. I think as you negotiate the contract, the 75% threshold is what you're going to negotiate with the folks providing the vending machines. So I don't know I really want to understand the flexibility you're talking about. Okay. Please.
So certainly for the purpose of clarification, if the council direction is 75% is it, then staff can proceed on that basis. I was suggesting that bringing back some options based upon understanding the financial implications of the policy direction might be something that might be of interest. That said, if that's not the case, then we will proceed.
Okay, well then, because of that, we're at round 2 now. Councilmember Constant.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that's actually what I was asking, that we should have had to make this decision in the first place.
Councilmember Liccardo.
Just like to know for the record, it's round 3 for Councilmember Consen on this issue. I just want to ensure that this is actually not coming back to council to decide again. Is that right? As the current, okay,
the current
wonderful.
motion, yeah.
Because at every survey I've looked at, none of our residents care what's in our vending machines, and I just want to make sure that this doesn't come back.
Okay, again, on the substitute motion, all in favor? Opposed? Okay. Substitute motion carries. Thank you. We will now move down to item 6.1, report on bids and award of contract for Transportation Incident Management Center Facility Improvements Project. I believe we have staff presentation. Nope.
Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council, I'm Hans Larson, Director of Transportation. We have a fairly straightforward action for you, and I'm almost reluctant to say anything more after that last discussion. But I think let me go ahead and take a stab at it. I think what we have before you is about a $2.5 million contract to build a transportation and incident management center. What we really wanted to do is raise your awareness in terms of that this is really kind of a capstone project on what has been a decade-long effort to completely modernize the city's traffic signal system. This is a $30 million total effort that has been mostly funded by state and federal grants. The rendering that you see here is the location of will be our new Transportation and Incident Management Center located on the ground floor of the city's city employee garage across the street here at 5th Street. And it's a fairly humble facility. It's kind of like a NASA control center, but much more humble. Has 9 workstations in the main center for people who will be managing our traffic signal system. It's a flexible space in which we can staff to a different level depending on commute times or special events or incidents, etc. And there'll be a bank of video monitors on the far wall. What's important to the community? We recently heard from the community survey, clearly, police and crime issues are number 1. Street repairs is number 2, but very close behind is traffic flow. And this new facility will give us a tremendous new capability to manage our citywide traffic signal system. So what in entirety this includes is that we have been, in the last decade, updating all of our traffic signal controllers, the hardware, the software, for all signals within the city. We are putting in place 380 traffic surveillance cameras, which essentially put eyes on our streets that allow us to have real-time information on what's going on in our commute corridors. And the significance of the Transportation Management Center is this is where all the information comes into one spot where we're able to manage the system in a central location to really kind of maximize efficiency for our community. As I mentioned, we have the system largely, we've been operating off of 30-year-old infrastructure that has been falling apart. It's taken a lot of staff demands to be able to, keep it running. But with the new infrastructure, there's a lot less staff devoted towards fixing our old infrastructure. We have a large city. It takes a lot of time for our staff to go out and troubleshoot the equipment. And so with the centralized management, we're able to modify and signal timing within the central control center. And so that saves a lot of travel time for staff that had to travel across the city to do the work in the past. Some of the other capabilities that we have is a highly advanced level of traffic control at hotspots, both with detection, in which the signal can manage itself in terms of efficient operations, and then also manual control that we'll have from the TIMC to be able to look through camera images and modify signal timing to reduce congestion. We've had this capability around the SAP Center, but we will also have this around the airport, sort of hot congestion locations in the areas like Winchester, Stevens Creek, the 101-story Tully, Yerba Buena area, 85 Santa Teresa, Almaden, just to name a few. We are working closely in partnership with the VTA to provide advanced detection of light rail and rapid bus vehicles, so our signals will be able to know in advance a transit vehicle's coming and adapt the timing in order to provide them with priority. Another great thing is the enhanced emergency operations capability. This provides to us when we activate the Emergency Operations Center. It can also be a resource for public safety, police, and fire. If there is an incident somewhere on San Jose's roads, that we can activate the center and help with traffic management and detours. I don't want to sort of play this up too much. This is not going to, solve congestion in San Jose, but it does give us some tremendous added capabilities to minimize congestion and enhance our system. As we move into building the TIMC, it'll take about a year for the facility to be built and operated. There's some additional software work that we'll be doing in the year after that. So we're looking for a couple of years from now to have this fully operational. But to a large part, most of the hardware and software on our 900 signals, that work has been done. So we are already reaping the benefits of the investments that we've made over the past years. There's more to it than just having a great local system. Part of this is really expanding our partnership with other agencies that operate transportation services in our area. So our big three partners are Caltrans, VTA, and the county with their expressway system. There is hoteling space at the Transportation Management Center for those agencies to come and work side by side with our staff to effectively operate the comprehensive system of local streets, freeways, transit, and county expressways. We've also built partnership relationships with CHP, MTC, and all of our bordering cities around San Jose. And there's more benefits. We are pulling into this center the ability to collect data from our radar speed feedback signs, so the new ones that we put in place, and Council gave us budget to add 15 more. Those radar feedback signs have wireless communication back to our Transportation Management Center so that we can monitor which locations actually have speeding problems and then direct our police department traffic enforcement unit to target enforcement in areas where we're having problems. Information on our streetlight management system will also come back to this central control center. And so rather than relying on the community to tell us when a streetlight is out, we will have information coming back to us when we know there's a problem with the city system. So this center also is more than traffic, but it's also speed data and lighting. The infrastructure we put in place, the fiber optic communications that we've spread throughout the city, also are having benefits for other IT initiatives in the city. This infrastructure we have with our signals is really kind of the core of our ability to do the wickedly fast Wi-Fi system that was set up downtown. And this is also the backbone of communications out to the south police substation. And so we have this large amount of communications infrastructure that we're building with the signals, but it creates a lot of capacity to extend IT infrastructure throughout the city, which has many other citywide applications. And we think there's even more benefits as we look into the future. Lots of benefits today when this is up and running, but we think there's even greater promise in the future in what we've put in place here. We currently are in partnership with BMW's Research and Development Center located here in Silicon Valley. And they were attracted to working with San Jose because they heard of the advanced signal infrastructure that we have. And they have, we've been working with them on a project that's called When a Smart Car Meets a Smart Signal. And we have provided to them wireless communications that they are able to receive within their vehicles, and the vehicle knows what the timing of the signal is. And this has, probably we'll talk about this at some other time, but you can imagine some of the benefits in terms of managing red light running. The car knows when the light is red, and also for efficiency of the vehicle. So if it's at a red light, it knows how long it'll be at the red light, and it can actually shut down the vehicle for better fuel efficiencies. So we're excited about what we're able to do here. And in Silicon Valley, there is a tremendous amount of innovation going on in the automotive industry. And we believe with just what we've demonstrated in terms of the advanced technology, the deployment that we've done creates opportunities for other partnerships with the automotive industry as they work on additional advancements. I recently got a test drive of the demonstration vehicle that has the signal information. I asked the German engineer from BMW sort of to give us a context of what we have here. And he said, what you have is a citywide system. There's no place else in the world that has what you have here. And I think that should make us all very proud in terms of what we're doing, particularly in this area. I want to just close by sort of thanking folks that have been our great partners on this. Dave Sykes in the Public Works Department for helping us deliver the program, and particularly the TIMC, Vijay Samata and the IT group for their technology support. And then I want to recognize our staff team that I invited to be here in the audience, Lily Lim Sao, who's the Division Manager for Traffic Operations, and Ken Salvale, our Senior Engineer. The two of them have really had a great vision and passion for over a decade to really come up with this plan, get it funded, and put it in place. And they're also joined by Octavio Duran, who's a relatively new employee for us, and we look to him and others being the future leaders as we deploy this and maximize the benefits for the San Jose community of what I think is really kind of a spectacular opportunity that we have to modernize our traffic signal system, but really do it in a way that is really world-class and world-leading in terms of the amount of innovation and the comprehensiveness of what we're accomplishing here. So I know we have a small action here to approve this, kind of one of the final steps in the puzzle. And so ask for your support, and I think over the next year or two as we roll this out, there'll certainly be other opportunities to share with the community and sort of celebrate, I think, another great accomplishment for the city of San Jose. So thank you for the additional time to provide you with a bit of overview on this project. Thanks.
Thank you, Hans, and thank you, staff, for the wonderful work. Councilmember LICCARDO.
Thanks, Hans. Great presentation, very compelling. I just had a question about the location. I know this has been long in the works for many years, but could you remind me, why are we doing this in the base of the employee garage as opposed to just doing it in City Hall?
I think, well, I don't know, I might have Lily come and help me with this. I think there's a bit of history on it. I think, the space below the employee garage was originally identified as a potential retail location. I think it was determined to really not be that great of a location for that. And so, decision was made that this was a good location to do that. Probably at the time that we did it, City Hall was filled with people, and there really wasn't an opportunity to do that. But I would say, we've pretty well committed on this space. We do have our parking and traffic control officers located in another part of the ground floor, and for DOT to have it close to City Hall, provides, I think, sort of co-location with other parts of our operation.
Okay. That's how I recalled it being, that City Hall was full. We saw a site. And of course, the world's changed a bit. And the world is going to continue to change because we're building housing now on that same block. That's a block we'd probably like to activate. If we were making this decision today, we'd probably say that's an important retail site that could serve both people who are using the garage as well as residents that are increasingly coming into downtown with new construction. And so I guess the question is there going to be any room essentially for a retail option along either side of that block? Or is this going to consume the entire space?
Yeah, this will occupy the entire space that's set up there within the garage. Yeah. So I think, in terms of other spaces, there's the property sort of right across the street, and it has the Santa Clara Street facing as well as the corner. So whatever that use ultimately is, probably is a stronger retail location for consideration in that area.
Agreed. I just obviously I'm looking a few years down the road as our downtown continues to grow and recognizing this will be something of a dead block and wanting to avoid doing that in too many places on the ground floor where we want to preserve active uses. So I can appreciate how we got there. I guess at this point we're beyond the point of no return in terms of the location of this. Is that fair?
I'm sorry, is it opportunity to reconsider it?
I mean, it's a foregone.
I think, yeah, at this point, this is primarily funded with federal grants. There's the site the tenant improvements are set up for this location. The decision was made probably several years back that this was where we're going to do it. It would be very difficult at this point, or both costly and a big delay in time to go back and locate it somewhere else.
Understood. Motion approved.
We actually had a motion already, but city manager has something to add.
I don't really know that this, I was involved in the decision way back when, and I know at the time also the fixed infrastructure nature of the investment was also a factor. I mean, maybe technology has changed, but maybe to Hans's point about kind of the sunk costs of that infrastructure might also still be relevant today.
Yeah, I would just add too is that in terms of having this really be what we'd like in terms of the partnership opportunities for Caltrans and county and VTA staff to come here and work with us, the fact that it's not in the middle of City Hall, it's very accessible for them to get to. Kind of a small point, but it makes it easily accessible for other partners. And to even showcase to the community and others, the operations center that we have here. We do have a makeshift center in our offices on the 8th floor, and it's been very popular for Boy Scout, Girl Scout groups and others that want to learn about transportation. We have a bank of monitors, and I think the public's very interested and actually surprised in knowing the capabilities we have now, and I think we're pleased to showcase further what we do, and I think this location lends itself to that.
Councilmember Herrera.
Thank you. This is a great report and a great day. Thank you, Hans, for this moving this project forward. How much more capability will we have versus what we have now? I haven't even visited your center right now, and now I want to after hearing that. So I'm going to sign up along with one of the field trips there and go visit, see what you do. How much greater capability will we have?
I would say, we're already reaping huge benefits with the investment we've made to upgrade, the 915 signals that we have that are just much more reliable. But what the center will allow us to do and where we want to go in terms of effective management of the system is to be able to be very proactive in managing traffic during peak commute periods and during special events. And so this will give us that enhanced capacity. Just using your district as example, a lot of the congestion we get is in sort of major gateway corridors, like the Tully Road corridor, or weekend traffic around a mall like East Ridge Mall. And so this allows us to somewhat manage that traffic in a more real-time manner. And that's not a capability that we have today. We do it around the arena. Well, that's what I like to say is we'd like to provide the proactive management that we do around the arena in a lot more hotspots around the city.
So you could address timing. So traffic signals could
Yes.
be could be timed for large flow of traffic going a particular direction because of an event.
What the new hardware and software allows us to do is have a greater degree of customization of the traffic patterns. You know, in the old days, it was, you know, you had a peak and a non-peak. And now you can manage it in a much more refined way. We can change the timing of the signals from our offices in a much more real-time manner. So you don't have to go out to the controller and do something out in the field to manage it, but we can do it remotely. So there's a great deal of efficiency in doing that. And then when, you know, when something unusual is happening or there's an incident, we have a greater degree to turn on the cameras, see what's going on, where the traffic is backed up, and then in real time, you know, allocate green time in a customized way in order to alleviate traffic congestion in a real-time manner.
How many cameras do we have, and where are
So
the
we
cameras?
have there, I think I had in the slide, 380 cameras. Those some signal intersections, we may have 1, 2, or 4 cameras depending on how large they are. So I think we have, it's about a total of 150 locations that have the advanced surveillance. That's what's installed as part of this, you know, larger project.
And so I'm always interested in how we can reduce major injury accidents, and some of those happen from people running red lights and other things. Is this, do you see, other than putting red light cameras, which I know have been discussed in the past, how does this system help us with that in
Yeah, I think
curbing red light running and other things?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's a
there
real
any-
direct benefit from this investment, but you know, the red light cameras or you know, just advanced technologies, there is you know, there's a lot of thinking in terms of how do we make, you know, our transportation system safer. So there's kind of other initiatives or programs around that particular topic.
That will help us. And last, we're all concerned about traffic congestion, and we had some council action that gave us some additional money for traffic calming. I would guess that this is going to allow us to kind of look at trends and see where, maybe point to areas where we need to apply some other solutions on congestion. Is that one of the things you'll be doing?
Yeah, I think
you're looking at
what this allows us to do is better monitor and manage congestion. And I think, you know, a lot of the concerns we get with traffic in the neighborhood is because traffic isn't moving on the major streets. And so with this investment, we're able to work to optimize the flow on our major street system and try to avoid spillover into our neighborhood streets. And so if we can spend, you know, more time proactively managing the system with the tools that we have here, rather than repairing failed infrastructure or having to go out in the field to do work, it gives our staff resources a greater deal of efficiency to do more proactive work than rather kind of reactive work.
And Hans, I know that we went through and had some timing projects, or we're retiming lights and all of that. Did we finish all of that we were working on, or are we still in the process, and how does that work with
Yeah,
this
we
project?
have retiming signals is really a kind of almost a
Ongoing.
continuous process. I say it's sort of like having a piano. You know, it needs to be tuned fairly regularly. And what this technology allows us to do is essentially tune the system, which needs to be, you know, done on a regular basis, but allows us to do that in a much more efficient manner, because we can control every signal and controller in the city from a central location, and minimizes, you know, the time and effort to have to go out in the field.
Got it. And I appreciate the $815,000 in savings by going back out to bid. So that's an additional good thing. Are we going to use that in some other way, or just we save money on this project?
I think, yeah, the other good news is, yeah, we received one high bid the first time, and working with Public Works, we figured out strategies to get more bidders, and we saved a significant amount of money. It's within our budget. I think we were previously facing being significantly over budget if we had, you know, awarded it based on the single bid we had last time. So that's good news, is that by rebidding it, having better communication with the contractor community. We refined the project a little bit, and so we were able to get much better bids this time around.
Okay, well, this is great news for San Jose, being a leader in another area. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes staff discussion on this item. We have a motion to approve staff recommendation. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Hans. And this concludes the City Council meeting for today. We will now move to the joint City of San Jose City Council Successor Agency, to the Redevelopment Agency meeting. And on this agenda, we have the North San Pedro Housing Project. We have a motion to approve staff recommendations. Does staff have a presentation? We don't really need one.
Is there a presentation, Richard, or is this
No,
sufficient?
we're here to answer any questions or elaborate on any details you'd like.
Okay, Councilmember Liccardo?
Just two quick questions. Thank you all for your very hard work on this, because I know this has been a long process, but I'm glad we're reaching, I think, a conclusion. First, I know there had been some discussion with the Parks Department, and we were catching wind of around concerns about the obligations on Pellier Park and the trigger by the Julian Street straightening project. And as I understand it, Julian Street is the first project that is the critical path, right? I mean, if we don't undergo the reconstruction of Julian, nothing else happens. Is that right?
That and the sale of land to complete so we have full capability to develop the site.
Okay, so there is really no risk that there is going to be something that happens here that leapfrogs the Julian Street reconstruction and somehow forces folks who are waiting for Pellier Park to emerge to have to wait any longer beyond our current schedule.
No, just, you're correct, the infrastructure development.
Okay, I just want to clarify that, because there seemed to be some misgiving in Parks, and I'm not sure where it came from, but.
I'd like to just clarify.
Yeah.
The Pellier Park expansion was part of an earlier pre-existing parkland agreement. So what we really tried to do was incorporate the timing so that when the park work that was being done as part of this project was done, that work would take place at the same time. If this all falls apart, that work still needs to be done under the pre-existing agreement.
Agreed. Okay, understood, Tom. And thank you for that. The other question I had related to the money that we're committing on the first community housing project, the $1.6 million. I recognize that the successor entity would be providing $900,000. I think our property tax or our tax increment numbers should be coming in, or they might have just come in for this next fiscal year. And I guess my question would be, if those numbers show a significant jump, will that reduce the draw on this $1.6 million, or is that set?
No, there's still quite a bit of outstanding debt.
Right.
That if the TI increases, that will go to help relieve other payments the city is making from the general fund. So the answer is we were trying to do as much as we could to find other sources for that money.
Great, thank you.
Okay, that concludes council discussion comments. We have a motion to approve staff recommendation. All those in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, staff. We have no speakers for the open forum, so we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.